I wanted to create this video to help anyone who may be struggling with the parametric polyhedron project. In this design, I have gone ahead and I've entered all the different parameters that I was supposed to. So I have the thickness of my material. I have D, which is the diameter of the circle that my face fits inside. I have N, which is the number of sides that each face has. Beta is the angle on those sides, and theta is the angle between the different faces. I'm going to start by creating a new component, which here I've already done. And then in that new component, so with that new component activated, so whatever I do now goes inside of that component, I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to select the plane that I want to sketch on. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a circle. And the diameter of that circle should be whatever D is. So that capital D was the diameter of the circle. So I'm going to type in D. Note when I do this, my user parameter shows up. So I'm going to select that and then click enter. So now I have a circle with diameter D. As I go and modify, change parameters, if I change D to 3.5 and then click OK and come back to my sketch, the diameter of that circle has now changed to 3.5. When I think about a hexagon or a square or a triangle, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to create a circular pattern of a triangle to create either an equilateral triangle, a square, or a pentagon. I think I said hexagon previously, I meant pentagon. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and draw two lines that snap to the center of my circle and to the edge of my circle, from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. And when I draw these lines, I want to do a few things. I want to make sure that I'm not adding any constraints to the lines. So I don't want the lines to necessarily be horizontal or vertical. I just want to draw two random lines. I also want to make sure that I haven't drawn lines that are, say, perpendicular to each other. Because once we include those constraints, that means that those lines can't move. So once the two lines are 90 degrees from each other, they can't be some other angle from each other. So I've drawn two random lines that are not horizontal or vertical and are not perpendicular to each other, but they are snapped to the end of the circle and to the center of the circle. If I go here and I modify, I change parameters and I change D back to 3, if I click OK, I see that those lines are still going from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. I then can specify the angle between these two lines using sketch dimension here. The keyboard shortcut for that is D. So sketch dimension, I can specify the dimension of a certain line or an angle between two lines. To do that, I'm going to click one line and then the next. And here I see that I have what the current angle is. I'm going to click on the sketch, and then I can input here what that angle should be. So that angle, there's 360 degrees in a circle. So if that was 360, those lines would be right on top of each other. But I want 360 divided by n. If I click enter, I see that that angle is going to be 72. If I were then to create a circular pattern of these two lines, I would end up with a pentagon right now because n is equal to 5. If I go here and change my parameter to say 4, I now see that those lines are 90 degrees apart. If I change my parameter from 4 to 3, I see that those lines are 120 degrees apart from each other. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to change and keep my parameter n at 5. So I've drawn this kind of internal angle on my polygon. I can always right-click those lines and turn them to construction lines because I won't want to actually laser cut those lines. This isn't necessary, but it's just going to help us visualize. Oh, I did that incorrectly. So I click the line, right-click, and change them to construction lines. I could also do that with the circle here. Change that to a construction line. The first line that's not a construction line is going to connect from the end of this line to the end of this line. So see how I have that blue square? That means I'm snapping to the end point of one of our lines. So now I have this shape right here made up of these three lines right here, and I can create a circular pattern of this one line here. If I go to create circular pattern of that one line, my center point is going to be the center point of the circle, and the quantity should be n. Then as I modify, if I change my parameter from 5 to 4, I click OK, I now have a square. So before we even create this circular pattern, I recommend, so I'm going to click undo to take back my circular pattern. I recommend doing everything that you need to do in this one portion of the face. So I would go ahead and add the little notches to connect the faces to each other. I would add any designs that you want to do on here. I would then extrude that face and create a circular pattern of the body. That's going to work a lot better than kind of creating one circular pattern, then another circular pattern, then another circular pattern. That's not going to work very well. So what I recommend instead is doing everything you need to do in this one triangle and then creating a circular pattern of everything that you've done. So the notches, the patterns, everything. Extrude it, then create a circular pattern of the body. That would be under, so finish sketch is going to be under create pattern, circular pattern. And you can create the circular pattern of the body, and that will allow you to create this parametric face. I hope this was helpful for your projects. Look to Canvas for when office hours will be so you can ask me more questions about your projects.